Hello.
Hello, stranger. How are you?
Good to see you. I'm doing good. A
Good
little
to see
tired.
you. Yeah, I know. I was like, oh God, do I have time to shave before this? And I was like, it's Friday. People get it. Just letting myself go. But hello, everyone. Um, Good to be here. Hep, do you know if Tim or others are joining
I am
us?
playing the role of Tim and Gus today. So I am
Hey.
your stunt Tim slash stunt Gus. And hello to everybody. Thank you for joining all of us. We are here today to talk about Adobe Firefly. And the purpose of this hangout that we have once a week is to kind of meet our PM team and ask us questions. And we usually show off some cool stuff to you that we're working on or stuff that is upcoming. And really looking forward to it.
Totally. So, Hep, are you planning to show off some of the in-painting enhancements? I know you were doing some fun work. I don't think we got to show it previously. I mean, you touched on it, but like it was involving cats, I think, or dogs and kayaks and colorful
Yeah,
stuff.
I can set up some stuff, but if you want to take us through maybe a basic walkthrough of it really quickly first, for those of us that didn't get to see it last week, I'll move some photos over and then I can run a demo for us.
Oh, you're anticipating that I have my stuff together in a bigger way than I do. Tell you what, while you're doing that, why don't I do a quick little overview of favorites? We talked about this last week, but obviously not everybody here now was able to join us last time. Um, it's always a good occasion for me to put in a little plug for the importance of filing feature requests. I see Erin's here. Hi, Erin. She and our teammate Tracy and other folks have been kind of distilling what we hear on Discord and getting it into our feature request database. Also, there's the list on the community site, which I can pull up. And that really has been just this super helpful uh, sheet that we can show to our bosses, frankly, and be like, yeah, when we say that people really care about favorites and they really care about sharing and so forth, here's the evidence, right? It's like, it's not what you know, it's what you can prove. And so with that preamble, that is kind of what gives us some fuel for um, really focusing on favorites as a capability. So I'm just multitasking, trying to um, get my screen sharing working and not uh, bore you with all of my corporate Slack. So almost there, just hiding the right stuff. And bring up Chrome. Okay. Okay, so share my screen. All right, so hopefully you guys are seeing it. By the way, just this is unrelated, except that there's just so much insanity going on, as I'm sure everybody who's ever remotely on Twitter, sees. Like, if you follow anything AI related, like every day there's something new. I was sending a paper to some friends at Google, who one of the guys who he created this technology called Nerf, which is brilliant. And I was like, oh my God, have you seen this new thing? He's like, oh, that's pretty cool, but like we have an even better paper. And so that this is like all while I'm walking my dog and like trying to keep up with this stuff. So nice problem to have, impossible problem to to actually address. Okay, so if you didn't get to see it last week, I'll just take you back. And we hope to have this shipping in the extremely near future. By the way, one of the bits of feedback last week that was really helpful was getting folks' opinion on whether it would be worth shipping an implementation of favorites that only works with your particular machine and browser as a short-term step. Now, obviously, in the future, you should be able to, come up with these recipes, save one, have that in your cloud account, go to a different browser, share it with somebody else, like tons of stuff we know people want. It'll take a little longer just because we try to think in like a cross Adobe way as what would be really useful, if you made this recipe, in the Firefly site and then you wanted to use it in Express, how would we make that work? So there's like a little bit more coordination that's involved. Anyway, the strong vote from folks last week, like 5-1, was, hey, if you just want to start with storing this locally, that would already be super handy. So I'll just show you. It's really straightforward, as I hope you'd expect. And so, in text to image, I'll just start with, I like this little ball animal, and go ahead and try this prompt. And what you'll see, if I can zoom in, is there's this little heart icon now, which you don't have in your copy, but which we plan to add in the near future. And if I want to now add that to my favorites, I could just go ahead and do that. So I'm going to go back. And by the way, we plan to add a little shortcut. So after you add one, you can jump right to the favorites, but it's not in the build yet. And yep, there's my little blue guy. So dirt simple, as it's supposed to be, right? We can go a lot farther from there, but this is just a really nice little starting place. And as you expect, if I go back and try the prompt, and maybe I want to, I don't know, turn on chaotic. Never know quite what that does, but let's do chaotic and an art style. And never having done this before, it's like, why not YOLO? We'll see if we like the results. And I actually do kind of like the results. Those are pretty cute. As we've touched on in previous weeks, folks like Chris Georgianus, who's a great animator, has been taking output from this, dropping it into Photoshop, pulling the characters onto their own layers, applying some animation in Adobe Animate or in After Effects. So tons of awesome possibilities. Anyway, let's just say, for sake of argument, I really like these two particular ones. And then, I try a different approach, and I'm just going to choose graphic and layered paper. And again, this is mainly just to give you a sense of what's possible. Oh, that's kind of cool, vaguely disturbing, but both can be true. So I'm going to favorite that guy as well. And again, just show you when you go back and you hit favorites, then you should see somewhere down here. Here's all my little guys. I don't really know how they're being sorted right now. That's one of the many little details we want to polish before putting it in your hands. But you can get a pretty clear sense of it. And of course, the same thing works in text as well. By the way, if there's a chat going, sorry, I'm multitasking, so I can't see it. Let me try to show that as well. So I'll try to pay attention to questions, but Hap or Aaron or others, if there's stuff worth breaking in for, please just go ahead and do it. But yeah, by the same token here, if I particularly like something, and I don't know, Hap, you have any Friday inspiration? What we ought to type in here? I don't know, rusty metal.
Yeah, rusty metal.
Sure.
See what it stands for metals.
Okay. See if we get something good here.
I remember the chat working really hard on getting super flat metal types. And they worked on it for like days and finally got these like really beautiful blocky brushed steel letters. So favorites would definitely help out that use case because I know people were going many iterations deep trying to get that flat face look.
Yeah. So I don't hold up these particular ones as like the be all end all. I did type in, I think it was like one I really liked. It was like beautiful red sari. I was talking with some friends about just cool clothing from around the world. And if I remember right, let's see if this works. Yeah, I probably turn off that background color. It's a little weird. But this could be a lovely example too. And I'm just going to type in the word sorry. And maybe put it with like this chunkier lettering. But the point being, when you get to a place you like, you go ahead and just hit that little heart icon. And just as you'd expect, the ones that have already hearted, or this one, that's a little slow to load right now. But you'll be able to capture that iteration as one of your favorites and then reuse it. Now in the future, of course, I'm kind of not to get ahead of ourselves, right? Because initially this is what we plan to ship. But these are the kind of recipes we want to make it super easy to pass around, to remix. As we start to get more capabilities, I think I've talked about this tech called ControlNet, where you can use various image references to kind of guide the synthesis, which is incredibly powerful. Figuring out, well, how do we let you encapsulate those references as well, and kind of package that up as part of the recipe. So we have a good internal conversation going about that. You can imagine in surfaces like Photoshop and Adobe Express and Illustrator, being able to reference those same ingredients or same recipes, much like you could reference a Lightroom preset. Okay, so I don't want to overdo this and take too much time from Hep and in painting, but again, just to show it that it really is in fact working. Now there's that rusty metal, and down here I should also see the sari. And of course, in the future, you'd presumably want to make it possible to like add keywords so that as people are in the inspiration feed and they want to find something that's like related to clothing or metal or whatever it might be, we can make that easier. And of course, they could search, potentially by creator as well. So lots of really straightforward stuff. Right now, it's going a little slow only because we're working in parallel to get all of these technologies into other Adobe apps. So it's a little bit kind of a zero-sum game. But again, please do hit us up with that feedback, and I'll get one more plug for the community forum, because again, this is the kind of receipts that we can take to leadership and be like, yep, in fact, this personal archive remains the top thing. And then apropos of things like ControlNet, using reference images to guide the synthesis process is the number 2 request. So this is not like we wouldn't have guessed that, but it's a difference between guessing it and knowing it. Then it makes it a lot simpler to make the case. Okay, so having said that, shall I pass the mic? I'll stop sharing.
Yeah, let's see if I can share my screen. Let me just get set up really quick here. I was having some problems last week. I hope I've corrected it. So we'll see how this goes.
Oh, and then while you're doing that, so folks are asking, what is ControlNet? So really, it's a set of techniques and technologies where you can use this is my arts and letters guy brain, right? I'm sure there's a much more complex and sophisticated answer, but basically just using examples, right? It's like you could do a napkin sketch of a logo, and you could say, I want to turn this to be full color. And so there's some examples I've shown in the past. I can paste in some links. But actually, I'll do that in a sec, because I have a category on my blog that kind of gathers up some of this good stuff. And you could then say, all right, from just this very basic seed, I want to, create an entire color image. Or another one would be like, hey, I'm making a picture of the beach, but I want to have Van Gogh Starry Night. And it's like, well, do I want kind of the color palette? Do I want the brush texture? Be able to tease those things out is really powerful. Another thing I've shown in past weeks is being able to like move around just very simple 3D objects. Think of it as like dollhouse furniture, right? And then using those to guide synthesis. So that's another way of giving an example. In that case, it's using depth as the cue for how the diffusion process ought to work. So I was thinking this morning, like, I think a lot of the next leap in generative AI will be all about specificity, right? It's not like, well, replace a jacket with another jacket, like some, leather jacket. It's like, replace it with this specific leather jacket, or replace it 20 times with these specific 20 leather jackets, right, in place. That's where it gets really powerful. And it's less of a sort of crapshoot. And it's more, hey, I intentionally, as a maker, have a vision in my mind, help me get there faster. And so the tech will kind of help you with that. All right.
Give me one more second. I can't get myself in painting access.
Oh.
So I don't think I will be able to actually demo today, because I didn't set myself up.
What about the Corp site?
Oh,
Maybe try
wait,
that
I'm not signed in. That's classic
Yeah.
Adobe. Wasn't signed in. Give me one sec. There we go. All right.
Yeah. At least it's better than the days when I worked on Photoshop and every day you'd have to be downloading like a new build and like installing it, and it could take this long time. At least now all we have is like multiple websites to keep track of, which is its own challenge.
All right, so let's go to downloads. I'm gonna have to convert these. Give me one sec. Let me stop sharing so you don't have to watch me like fumble through this. That's the one problem with iOS's what is it? File format.
Mm-hmm.
We don't read it yet. Going to export.
So yeah, just while you're doing that. In fact, if you need a minute, no big deal. I'll just quickly show some of these examples. I think they're just incredibly fun to look at. And so yeah, take your time and get that sorted. So yeah, I shared a link in the chat, and this is the ControlNet stuff, and hopefully it's not too remedial if you've seen it before. But let me show you my favorite example. It's a couple things. So this is just a little experiment I did, and by the way, I should say there's actually a third-party site. Let me pull that up, and I'll share this chat as. Sorry, I'll share this link in the chat as well. Okay, so I just dropped that in. And so this is a site that what they're letting you do is like take this very simple sketch of the turtle or whatever sketch you happen to upload, and then you can turn it into something different. So because I don't have anything handy, I'll just go with the turtle, but instead of a brightly colored turtle, let's say brushed metal, just so we can make it quick. And much like you'd expect with these kind of nerdy demos, there's all kinds of like controls, and you can set like negative prompts, yada yada. But just for the sake of showing how the tech works, so that's pretty cool, right?
Nicely
Literally
done.
from like a napkin sketch to this pretty photorealistic thing. So I always, like to joke. There's that old there's that classic meme about. Sorry, let me just get up this gallery. Oh, by the way, there's another site, nothing to do with Adobe, just I think it's a fun thing to play with. I-candy.ai. So I'm going to drop that in the link. And I feel a little bit like Miracle on 34th Street, where it's like Santa's like, oh, you can't get it from us, but go over here across the street, right? I mean, I'm just happy if creative people get access to rad tools, and the feedback you can provide, if and when you try those out, is super helpful to us, right? But really, the high order bit is like just get you stuff that you find interesting. So this site is really cool for just messing around and applying these different like kind of candy looks. Here, okay, I was it's a little bit heavy-handed, right? But I was making the case to my teammates that Firefly needs this. Good news, they're working on it. It's just there's a lot of math involved. But these are all just, very simple examples I made by messing with an app on my iPhone, doing some typesetting and then feeding the results into the iCandy site. But like, via the other link I supplied, you can go in and upload whatever you like. So you can take these, you could do it there. There's really, like I say, ControlNet isn't one particular technology, and it isn't from any one company. It's just a set of capabilities, kind of like image to image or depth to image, that helps give more control as you're building stuff up. Let me show you the other example, if I can find it. I always bring this one up as well. It's super fun. So somebody, just as a kind of a fun gag, went and took various famous logos, and again, just by taking the Starbucks logo and then giving it some parameters. It's like the photorealistic Nicole Kidman Starbucks logo. Here's the sort of like creepily photorealistic KFC Colonel, right? Colonel Sanders. Favorite one I think is Burger King. Again, it's just taking that vector logo, giving it some parameters, and you get this. But again, when I talk about specificity, it's like this is what we have in mind, right? Like it doesn't take away the serendipity in the sense of play. Like you can still get a bunch of like unpredicted or like varied results, but you're also giving it a lot more guidance, what like you, the creator, have in mind. And that kind of dovetails to the in-painting thing that we want to show you as well. So yeah, like I said, there's a link in the chat to this stuff. Oh, and I actually tried this. So sorry, it's a little bad language, but probably know this meme. It's like, how do you draw an owl? Well, you draw two circles and draw the rest of the effing owl. I actually tried that, so I'll just show you because it's sort of funny. Hopefully this is the correct link this time. Yeah, there it is. So yeah, I fed in two circles and just, what the heck, see if it works. It didn't, but okay, that's a little on the light side. I tried this one with this like Giga Chad meme because I wanted Chad GPT, and then just trying a bunch of various color prompts via the link I just shared. I was able to get these different results, and it's like a super fun way to play with things. So again, this is what I always try to communicate to creators. I mean, certainly Adobe's intention is never to displace anybody creative. It's really just to give you like these insane tools that you wouldn't have had before, right? Like, let me try 10 variations. Maybe I would have had time to do one. Like, maybe I don't have the skills at all to, really like go into Blender. I mean, it's not skills. It's just you don't have time to go and learn all that stuff. So let's like make that more accessible, and then we can do God's work, like taking Trogdor the Burninator, right? Which is, of course, critical. And then, kind of creating like these different renderings using fantasy art styles. Again, none of this is like fine art. It's just me screwing around with the same tools that I shared in the chat. So, have at it. Let us know what you like about those, what you don't like, things you'd like to see us do if we were to take advantage of kind of similar capabilities. And yeah, I saw briefly like a 3D world go by, and that too is something we've been experimenting with. Um, so yeah, definitely check out previous recordings, or I can drop a link in the chat here to a tweet where I showed off some of that. But I'll stop talking. Hap, you good to go?
Good to go. Let me take
All
over
right,
from you.
all right, you got it.
All right. So we're going to share Firefly beta. I'm hoping you can all see my screen. I've got these images loaded in now. We're going to start with this one of my cat. So I took this photo of my cat hanging out in this kayak on my lawn, or
It's
some version of
still
lawn.
loading for me, Hap, just FYI. It's like the two little floaty guys from Discord. Um, maybe stop and restart it.
Yeah, let me try stop sharing. I think this might have been what happened last time. Like, it has all the right permissions, but it would not. You see anything now?
It's still thinking about it. Hmm.
Hmm. I
I'll
might not be
redirect.
able to share again.
Okay.
Sorry, guys. We've been having this problem like multiple weeks in a row now. I'll try to get it pinned down for now. Oh, wait. Somebody said they did see it. All right. Let me try one more time, and I'll
Oh,
just
all
assume
right.
that half of the people can see it, and the other half of the people are going to have to imagine along with us. So I've got this cat cut out. I selected the background, removed the background, and then I just typed in, like, what did I type? Stormy ocean. And it's going to think about it for a little bit. And you can see that it didn't do such a great job getting all of the leaves that were up against the base of that boat. So we're going to attempt that one next.
Sorry, Hap. I'm not to be a pain. Sorry. Most folks, me included, still aren't seeing it. Do you want to just like DM me the images real quick, and you can
Yeah, let
puppet
me just
me?
send them to you.
Right.
Yeah, over.
Yeah. We'll just kind of MacGyver
This.
our thing together here. You want to hit me on Slack, and I'll grab
Yeah, I'll
them.
just slack them over to you. Give me one
All right.
sec. There you go.
All right. Keeping an eye out. Hep is lives in a much cooler place than I do, out in the mountains. I think the downside of that might be you've got like a little cocktail straw of bandwidth sometimes. It's a little
Very
little
much so.
more. Oh,
Yes.
where are you sending them in Slack, or are you sending them in Discord?
It's coming across Slack, but it says uploading. So I'm assuming it's a
Oh,
bandwidth
okay,
problem that I'm having today.
okay.
Yeah. I am also
Uh,
recording this. It might also be my computer is like, what are you doing?
all good. I got the cat. All right, so let's start. All right, we'll start with the gato. Um, Let me get my share going again. And bear with us, everybody. Thank you for your patience. Um, okay. Are people seeing my screen?
Yes.
All right, cool. All right, so going to in painting. Yeah, and maybe folks have seen this. Just what's kind of cool here is we try to set you up with a running start, so you don't have to bring your own image. And when you mouse over these different images, it gives you some examples like, oh, you could use the select background command, which is built in. If you just want to like swap out the background behind the dog, or if you want to just paint like paint a beanie on this guy. So I'm going to choose upload image, and I will do my best to then um, follow Hep's guidance. All right, cool. So here's your cat and here's your kayak.
So I started with removing the background and using
Oh,
the
okay.
remove background tool. And then
All
what
right.
I did once it did a pretty good job cutting out everything. Usually in these kind of photos, it won't get the back because it goes out of focus, but it did a great
Mm.
job. And then I
Hmm.
just typed in Stormy Ocean
Stormy ocean.
and
I like that the most time-consuming part of this is like learning to type in front of strangers, which is always a little nerve-wracking. And
and
this
of course we
might
got
run a little slower than we would want, just because it's an internal copy, and we try to give all the good GPUs to people who are using it outside. Um, But what you will see down here when it loads is, or should load. There we go. So you actually get this multiple variations. Whoops. Let me zoom back out. Okay, got it.
And so yeah, these ones all have a beach for some reason. Let's go with this
Hmm.
one. So the next
Oh,
thing
you
I
like
did was
this
I
one?
took
Okay.
a brush and I just ran the brush over all of the leaves and then I composited in
Should I hit
waves for the
keep?
thing.
Keep that one? Okay, sorry. So you said select the leaves?
Yeah, I just brushed over all of the leaves and then put in ocean waves, I think was the next.
Oh, okay. Makes sense.
That way it just kind of like made it so that, leaves aren't just like distracting your eye and you're like, why are there some leaves in the ocean?
Right. Right.
And then the
Oh,
last thing I did, once I figured out and dialed in the ocean waves, was I just selected on top of his head and added a little pirate hat
right.
for the fire.
I was thinking a pirate hat might be involved. Yeah. Yeah. So hopefully folks can see it. It's maybe a little small on your screens, but as I just move among these different variations, um, yeah, you're getting different waves. That definitely looks better. And then, yeah, let's see. I don't know if I should try to keep his ears or not. Um, yeah, but a jaunty pirate hat. All right. Anytime you get to use the word jaunty at work, probably a good day. Um, so anyway, oh yeah, there's the final. Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, here,
Oh,
and so
he looks fantastic.
he looks pretty good. I like that he's like sufficiently stricken looking to be involved in this kind of thing. Um, but yeah, kind of like you'd expect. You can either take these, or as you'll notice, there's this more button. So I'm just going to tap more, and it's telling it, you know what, go ahead and generate. So this is it. Oh, that's nice. I don't know. It's sort of like a something Flanders or something. Anyways, but yeah, there. Uh, this has been in some testing. Folks have been sharing some really delightful, incredible, weird results. Sometimes it fails, and that's entertaining. But more often than not, I think it's really powerful, not just for adding stuff, but then just removing things, right? Like, what if this was like content overfill, but had a bunch of capabilities that have never existed? You know, it has a notion of like, oh, there's a shadow here, there's a shadow here. I should probably make that contiguous because I've seen shadows in the world, right? Or like, oh, I want to. There's a lower half of a person who's not visible. I want to make that visible. Or I found this cool image on Adobe Stock. It's portrait mode, but I really want it to be landscape, right? And should you be able to just hit a preset and be like, widen this thing out and then give me 4 different treatments. Let me pick one I like. If I don't totally love it, again, I just hit this button and I go and I do the manual controls. So that's all the good stuff we're playing with.
And the
Let's
other
see.
thing to note is how well it
Yeah.
matches styles. So if you bring in like
Mm.
illustrations, it won't composite photorealistic. It'll composite in the style of your illustration, which is like super helpful if you're trying to do variations. Like the guy with the beanie hat, it like
Yeah.
really gets such a good job of that same drawn style, that same like, really pretty and vivid color usage and like very thick paint feeling, and it doesn't feel like they composited a photorealistic hat on top of this, which would not look good. That would look very jarring. It would be
Right.
like a out of
Yeah,
place, so to speak.
it's almost kind of eerie. I don't know where the brush size control went. For that, it's just temporarily MIA. Um, but yeah, let me kind of finish this and say colorful beanie. Oh, maybe it's under settings. There it is. Okay. This is the delight of like your teammates moving fast and changing things as we go. So now I know where that is. All right, cool. So we'll kind of finish off with colorful and fun beanie. Although I'm tempted to see what would a pirate hat look like for this guy. Maybe I should have selected a bigger region to give it more room to play. But yes, Hep is saying it attempts to match sort of the tonality, the texture, the lighting, all these different properties that you as an artist, of course, can do because you're a human and you've seen the world, but are sometimes pretty laborious. If do I have to select this part and like go into levels and then I like brighten it a little bit. Certainly, you can open this in Photoshop to fine tune it, but you can get really pretty far here. What the heck? Let's can I change my I don't know if I want to do pirate hat. Let me oh yeah, cool. All right. Go into the weekend with a nice Buccaneer look. Let's see. Are there any comments that we should or questions we should get at? I have to go to an extremely boring meeting about analytics after this, and I would much rather play hooky, but I probably shouldn't because we have to know what are
So
people doing.
yeah. Jesus is asking, can you use a Firefly image to create a replicate image? Replicate allows commercial use while Firefly doesn't. You can definitely use Firefly, personally for all kinds of experimentation. At this point, it's not commercially available. So I would recommend not trying to dive into, other commercial workflows using this content. We are trying to be very good about, following the rules of the beta.
Yeah, and stay tuned. I mean, like again, the meeting we just came out of was all about how do we actually get to that threshold, and we're trying to get there as soon as we can. It's just lots of interesting, important details to work through around like how do we compensate artists, like how do we give people credit, all the super important stuff we identified at launch. It just takes a lot of work to actually work through it.
And last question before we break, because we're a little over time and we have to go to this meeting. Phil Castillo asked, will Firefly be connected to Creative Cloud Solutions? Absolutely. That is where we are driving towards. We want this to be part of our all magical part of Adobe Creative Cloud. So stay tuned for that as well.
And on that note, yeah, please like keep the comments coming, like very specifically, what do you want? Like there's so many things we could do, and everybody has a different opinion, but having actual feedback from people trying to do real work is super important. That's how I came to Adobe. I was just like a pissed off Adobe customer, and I'm like, do you guys not use these products? And it was like, well, we don't get to use them all day like creative people do. That's why we gotta, come like lean on your expertise. And so that's totally true for me. So yeah, let us know, like specifically, what do you have in mind? Like, anyway, you tell us. I won't put any words in anybody's mouth. But yeah, thanks for making the time. And to be continued. Have a great weekend.
Yeah, we'll see you next week, folks. Thanks all.
All right. Thanks, y'all. Bye.